So it looks like Maxime Bernier has just released a statement saying that he is going to leave the Conservative Party, and I agree with this move 100%, especially with the way Andrew Scheer has been acting lately. He has recently banned rebel media from attending a conference that they're having recently where he's allowing CBC and everybody else to attend, but not rebel media, which is definitely an ally to the conservatives, and it's just stupid to alienate them and all of their fans and all of their followers, and the way he has been speaking about Maxime Bernier and his statements that he made, trying to disassociate himself, just shows you that this guy has no principles. He goes where the wind blows, and he is not going to get enough energy to get enough people to the fucking polls for the conservatives to win to begin with. Like, I'm sure most Canadians probably don't even know who Andrew Scheer is. Like, I'm not even joking you. Like, this guy has no presence. He says nothing for them to ever put him on the fucking newspapers. Like, he has as much fucking energy as Jeb Bush. We don't need somebody like this, and he is never going to beat Trudeau, because we look at Trudeau and the way he's acting on the world stage and all of the mishaps that he's having. But you gotta understand that people don't watch the news very much, and 95% of the news is on his side and is going to spin every gaffe to make him look good, which they have been doing, this whole time. Everything he does, they're like, oh, wait, actually, he's standing up for human rights. Oh, actually, he was right to call out that woman, and you humiliate her and call her racist and all this shit. Everything he does, he was, everything, even the India thing, like, well, it wasn't really his fault, blah, blah, blah. So no matter what he does, he is going to get a lot of support, no matter how stupid he is. So you need somebody who really gets people's spirits motivated, like Maxime Bernier. People who say real things, who are not afraid to be called out and smeared and tarnished by the media. Someone like somebody who actually has principles. But I'll read his statement, because he pretty much takes a knife to the conservatives and shows you a lot of the flaws with the party. But there's a couple lines I'll skip in the beginning because they're just kind of pointless. But I am in politics to defend ideas, real conservative ideas, because I passionately care about Canada's future, because I know that free market conservative philosophy has the best solutions to ensure our society is more prosperous, secure, and peaceful, which he is 100% correct about that. However, my party's stand on several issues have convinced me that under the current leadership, it has all but abandoned the core conservative principles. I still cannot understand how a party that is supposed to defend free markets supports a small cartel that artificially increases the price of milk, chicken, and eggs for millions of Canadian consumers. More importantly, supply management has become one of the main stumbling blocks to an agreement with the United States on NAFTA. Former conservatives Brian Mulroney, Rona Ambrose agree that it should be put on the table. But the Conservative Party has been siding with the Liberal government. It also supports the retaliatory tariffs of the Liberal government, even though this is going to hurt our businesses and consumers, even though Canada has no realistic chance of winning a trade war with a neighbor 10 times larger, which most Canadians do not grasp that fact. But even though we could successfully relaunch the negotiations if we put supply management on the table, and if we accept President Trump's offer to negotiate a dismantling on all barriers, as the European Union has done, so it's like, he calls out perfectly supply management and the hypocrisy from conservatives, how they support this. How could you support this massive subsidy, or not even subsidy, like, reducing the amount of supply of a certain product, right? Like, that is completely against capitalism. Like, how are prices supposed to go down if you limit the supply of what is being produced. Like, only fucking retards think that supply management is good. Only fucking retards who don't know anything about economics thinks that supply management is a good idea. And if you shill it, then you are paid off, or you're a retard. It's one or the other. But the Liberals are playing politics with this crucially important trade file. They are endangering the 20% of our economy that depends on the trade with the U.S. and Canada's future prosperity. So it's like, yeah, our economy is way smaller than theirs. We can't have a tit-for-tat battle with America. That's like having a lightweight go up against a super heavyweight and say, okay, punch for punch. Punch for punch. Who is going to last? Just use your fucking brain. And because of the fact that they have completely destroyed our pipelines because of Bill 62 and all the regulations that they're putting in place, like, we have 3 pipelines that are on hold that could be built, that could diversify our economy so we aren't as susceptible to tariffs from Saudi Arabia, from America. But, Trudeau's a fucking idiot, and he's going to do what he does, and he's going to ruin our economy. But I still cannot understand how a party, blah, blah, blah. But instead of leading as a principled conservative and defending the interests of Canada and Canadians, Andrew Scheer is following the Trudeau Liberals. I was told that internal polls are showing that the Liberals' response to Trump is popular, and that in 6 months, if the polls change, the party's stance may change too. And see, this is the thing, Trump is a benefit to Trudeau in the sense that he has been demonized by our media, by their media for years now. And everybody thinks, a lot of people in Canada thinks he's a horrible, horrible dude. So when they see Trudeau, even though they don't like him, a lot of people, standing up against Trump, they're like, yeah, good job, we hate that drumpf motherfucker, right? So it's just, people, they just don't know anything, and they just don't like Trump, and they're like, okay, we'll support Trudeau over this. But so if that does change, you'll see him flip though. But the same thing happened in reaction to my tweets on diversity and multiculturalism. This is another crucial debate for the future of our country, which it 100% is. We need to have this debate. This debate needs to happen before it's too late. Do we want to emphasize our ethnic and religious differences and exploit them to buy votes, as the Liberals are doing, or emphasize what unites us in values that guarantee social cohesion? And the funny thing is, Andrew Scheer and a bunch of, like Michelle Rempel and a bunch of conservatives, were calling Maxime Bernier's statements like this identity politics. Like, they don't know what the fuck identity politics is. If he's calling... if they're saying something like this is identity politics, or his statements about, diversity. Instead of leading the debate, pushing back against all this unfair accusations, or hold on one second, I lost my spot. The same thing happened in reaction to my tweets on diversity. Just like in other Western societies grappling with this issue, a large number of Canadians, and certainly the vast majority of conservatives, are worried that we are heading in the wrong direction. But it's not politically correct to raise such questions. Instead of leading the debate and pushing back against all the unfair accusations, Andrew Scheer chose to avoid the controversy. Like a fucking pussy, I added that. He and several of my colleagues disavowed me. They are afraid of criticism by the left in the media, that they prefer to let down millions of supporters across the country who would like to tackle this issue. Yeah, he's selling us down the river because he's afraid of the media and being called a fucking racist. But when the Liberal government recently renewed the unfair and inefficient equalization formula for another 5 years, I was the only one to criticize it. Not a word from my conservative colleagues. So, that is complete bullshit. And this, like, what that is, what he's just talking about, the equalization thing, it's provinces, if they are running short, or they're not making enough money or something, we will transfer them money, right? It's in Canada, the federal government makes equalization payments to less wealthy Canadian provinces to equalize the province's fiscal capacity. So how is that anything about free markets? the reason we have different provinces and stuff is it's kind of the same reason you have different states, is to test out different things to see what works. But if you just have other provinces subsidizing other provinces who are doing poorly, you will never progress as a society, because you're subsidizing bad behavior. So it's really stupid, and it's clearly, doing this, throwing money to different provinces, helps liberals and it helps conservatives. This is why a lot of them are quiet about it. And the only person with principle is Maxime Bernier, right? Because he doesn't care about the money. What he cares about, free markets and, making Canada good, because it is free markets and libertarian principles that are going to make us fucking great again. And reducing immigration is also going to make us fucking great again. But when a little blah blah blah, a conservative party that supports free markets should also advocate for the end of corporate welfare. It is not only a principled thing to do, it could also be popular if we defend it in a consistent way. Canadians are tired of paying taxes to bail out Bombardier, Ford, and other businesses. And see, right there, that would appeal to a lot of people. You would get people who have never identified as a conservative voting for a conservative if you proposed shit like this. But Andrew Scheer, people like this, they're paid off, they don't give a shit, and they're gonna go with the corporations over the people every single fucking time. But instead of taking, sorry, I'm a little sick. The conservative solution should be to abolish these wasteful agencies, and my party propose is to make them more efficient at buying votes with taxpayer money. How can we expect this party to adopt any conservative reform when it comes to power if it cannot even articulate a clear stand and defend them before it is elected? I am now convinced that what we will get if Andrew Scheer becomes Prime Minister is just a more moderate version of a disastrous Trudeau government, which he is right. If Andrew Scheer goes with the policies he's proposing right now, they're just a little bit less worse than Trudeau, just a little bit. And he's going to keep all the corporate welfare. He's going to keep all of this money transfer going on between provinces. He's going to keep supply management and battle fucking Trump, and lose Canadian jobs, because enough Canadians are stupid enough to think that when we do lose our jobs and when we lose money and our economy starts hurting, the media is going to start blaming Trump, and they're going to be like, oh, well, it's Trump's fault. It's not Trudeau. He's just standing up for us and blah, blah, blah. So that is what is going to go down if Andrew Scheer or Trudeau remain in office or get power. Admittedly, probably Andrew Scheer may be a little bit better, but with the things, like I said, he's proposing, I don't have much faith in him. In the way that he has condemned Maxime Bernier with his statements, said it doesn't align with the party's values, and the way he's doesn't even allow rebel media in to interview because he's afraid of what the media is going to say about him. Then he's a pussy, and we don't need pussies running our fucking country. And then, how can we expect this party to adopt? I have come to realize over the past year that this party is too intellectually and morally corrupt to be reformed. I know for a fact that many in the caucus privately oppose supply management, but buying votes in a few key ridings is more important than defending the interests of all Canadians. And, trying to buy those few key votes is going to cost you the election, and it's going to cost you the next election and the next election, because Trudeau is going to be importing more and more voters, and Native Canadians or whatever are going to have less and less kids. And over time, the Conservatives are going to have absolutely no chance of fucking winning. So something needs to be done about this now. This discussion about diversity, multiculturalism, immigration needs to happen right now, because things change extremely fast. It can happen 10, 20 years. This shit can change, and it can look vastly different than it looks now. But the Conservative Party tries to one sec. I know for a fact that many in the caucus, blah, blah, blah. The whole strategy of the party is to play identity politics, pander to various interest groups, and buy votes with promise, just like the Liberals, which is 100% true. is right about that. Every public declaration. Okay, the Conservative Party tries to avoid important but controversial issues of concern to conservatives and Canadians in general. It is afraid to articulate any coherent philosophy to support its positions. So yeah, they're too afraid, and if they just had balls and stuff, they would have so much more support. But for Andrew Scheer and a few other people, it's kind of too late for that, because you kind of showed me your colors. You showed me that you have no principles. You go with the wind, and even if you change your position on a few things because of a bunch of attacks that you're getting, I have no hope that you're going to stay consistent, or you're not going to backpedal on the things that you promised once you get into office, because I do not trust most politicians to begin with, other than one of the only ones so far, Mad Max Bernier, right? But Andrew Scheer keeps talking about his positive conservative vision, but nobody knows what that vision is. The Conservative Party has abandoned conservatives. It does not represent them anymore, and has nothing of substance to offer Canadians looking for a political alternative. If we want conservative principles to win the battle of ideas, we have to defend them openly with passion and conviction. That is what I want to do, and that is why, as of today, I am no longer a member of the Conservative Party of Canada. I want to do politics differently. I will find another way to give a voice to millions of Canadians, and I will continue to fight for freedom, responsibility, fairness, and respect. And, he has a link on this thing. I'll put a link below. You can go to this blog where he released this, or the statement. He said, join the Mad Max Club, and you can join my team of supporters and help us bring freedom. So, I suggest you join, immediately. Send also letters and shit to your MPs, your conservative MPs, letting them know, or phone calling them, email, whatever way, on Twitter, any way that you possibly can, that you are dissatisfied with Andrew Scheer. And, if enough people within the Conservative Party that are high up there hear that a lot of Canadians, a lot of conservative Canadians particularly, do not want Andrew Scheer, are turned off by him, they may even, consider getting rid of him. And you know what I mean? There could be, then Maxim could come back and the party take control of it, but the way it is now, I don't even care if it really splits up the party to some extent, right? Because it's like, if Andrew Scheer, if we all just stay silent and go with Andrew Scheer's strategy, we're not going to win. It will not happen. The only way is with Maxime Bernier, and I'm not sure if Canada can handle another 4 years of Trudeau. Maybe we can, but I'd rather not take that risk, and I don't want to necessarily take that risk with Andrew Scheer either. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and share, and check out the links below, because I'll put this where I read this in the link below. So have a good one. Take